Oh, I'm on chapter 13 of How to Ride Dragonstorm. They were in its territory now, so that was the end of the last hope of escape from the West to America. All 119 of the wondrous slaves escaped. Hooray! But Hiccup, Kamikaze and Fishlegs did not. Hiccup saved Bearcock. Who would save Hiccup? They had their work cut out over the next 5 hours or so, trying to prevent the great boat from crashing into an iceberg in the mist, and by the time the mist lifted, it was nearly morning, but they had steamed out of the land of the icebergs and into the great West Ocean. I was just looking out for my dog Pigeon, who was just coming to say hello. Yes, and the hysterics were beginning to stir in their sleep. It was astonishing that they had all slept through the whole thing, but they had, even Toothless, who had snored happily through being chased by snow polar serpents and bumping over icebergs and submerged in ice-cold water without so much as opening an eyelid. Red Ronald was the first to wake up to find Kamikaze peddling to keep the boat from sinking and scare away the monster sea creature's machine. "I won't tell Norbert if you don't," said Kamikaze, climbing off the machine and letting Red Ronald climb back on again. Red Ronald was so pathetically grateful he practically cried, for he knew if his boss found out he had fallen asleep on the job, he would quickly find himself on the wrong side of the axe of doom. Hiccup retied the ticking thing to Norbert's wrist so that Norbert would never know he had tried to steal it, and then he judged it best that the three of them should be out of the way when Norbert made the discovery that all of his slaves had escaped into the night. So, once Hiccup's clothes had thoroughly dried on the chimney, they crept back up to the crow's nest where they fell asleep. Curled round the comforting warmth, the 2 dragons gave out lovely waves of heat like 2 little hot wattles. They were only woken by Norbert's great roar of rage. I was so glad they've got the dragons with them. It's very comforting. First, Norbert was sure it was all Hiccup's fault. "That wretched, weird little red-haired boy! I should have killed him when I had the chance!" screamed Norbert the Nut. "He's made off with all my slaves!" Hiccup put his head over the top of the crow's nest. "No, I haven't," he called down. "I'm up here." Norbert was so furious he swiped at the mast with his axe as if he was chopping down a tree and taking a big slice out of it. "That's a bit silly, isn't it? He needs that mast." "What have you done with my slaves?" he roared. "I haven't done anything with your slaves," Hiccup called down. "If I had done, I would have run away myself." This was quite a good argument, but Norbert wasn't in a listening kind of mood, and he took another swing at the mast. "I know," Hiccup shouted. "We need that mast, you know, and I'm the only one." Oh, look, there is Pigeon. Can you just see? She's just come to snuggle up in my writing shed. Hello, Pigeon. Hello. She likes being there. "Oh, no, I haven't. What have you done with my slave, you want? I haven't done anything else." Oh, this was quite a good argument, but no, Norbert wasn't in a listening kind of a mood. I'm going to move so you can see her sleeping. So sweet. And he took another swing. No, he kept shouting. "You need that mast, you know. I'm the only one who can read the ticking thing and get us to America, aren't I? So without me, you can't create your land of the nut jobs, your empire." With a massive effort, Norbert managed to stop himself from cutting down the mast. But nonetheless, Hiccup thought he might stay up in the crow's nest until he felt Norbert had calmed down. Toothless and Stormfly both woke up much later when the sun was high in the sky, and the 2 little dragons had absolutely no recollection of what had happened. The ship was way out in the great West Ocean now. The world around them had turned to water. Nothing but water everywhere. It was as if a great flood had taken place and washed over every precious piece of land. And now there was nothing but sea below and clouds above, and their tiny little speck of a boat crawling across it. Like a bug across a window pane. It was as if they'd left this world entirely and were sailing through space, looking for another star. There was no way of contacting other humans. They were on their own in a universe of water that went on forever. And what was worse was that the ship now seemed to be followed by something. High up in the crow's nest, Hiccup, Fishlegs and Kamikaze saw it first. It was the white wake of a gigantic sea monster. "Sea dragon on the eastern horizon!" screamed Norbert from down below on the deck. "Get peddling or I'll feed you to the monster with my own fair hands!" The crew took it in turns to peddle to scare away the big sea creature's machine so fast that the machine's spokes and wheels whined a creaking, out of control complaint, and the trumpet attachment thingy whirled so crazily it looked in danger of falling off. But the sea dragon was not scared away. The sound the machine made was so physically unbearable to the monster that it kept a safe distance. So it does work from the boat, but it did not stop it from following them. No. All of the rest of the day, that sea dragon followed the American Queen too, and all of the night, the crew went to sleep at their battle stations, upright in their armour, harpoons at the ready. As they closed their eyes in sleep, it was the last thing they saw on the horizon, the long, thin line of a white wake and the great spiny back of one of the great deadly terrors of the deep, rising and falling as it swam inexorably after them like some ghastly fate. They were in its territory now, and it knew it. All it had to do was to be patient. The only thing preventing the sea dragon from moving in for the kill and tearing apart the American Dream 2 with its mighty jaws as if it were a child's toy was a dilapidated, cranky, overworked little machine. A machine that was looking increasingly creaky and wonky as each crew member pedalled it furiously. If a screw crane loose on one of those wobbling wheels, that whirligig trumpet thing would come whizzing off, and it didn't bear thinking about. Everybody had nightmares that night. It made Hiccup's heart skip a beat or two when he woke to see the wake of the sea dragon on the horizon. It was still following them. Hiccup crept down from the crow's nest and over to the steering deck, where Norbert was staring at it too, through his looking glass thingy. Norbert, said Hiccup nervously, I just have a feeling that the sea dragon doesn't like us for some reason. Don't you think we should go home? For a moment, Hiccup didn't think Norbert had heard him, but Norbert carried on looking at the horizon, muttering to himself slowly, that is the largest sea monster I have ever seen. And then Norbert took his looking glass thingy from his eye and looked straight down at Hiccup. No dragon, however big, is going to take away my dream, growled out Norbert the Nutjug from between clenched teeth, shaking his fist at Hiccup's face. I'll jump down that thing's throat and personally remove its wishbone with my axe if I have to. You understand me, boy? Hiccup nodded. Death or America, roared Norbert the Nutjug. Now read me the ticking thing and stop talking treachery. Hiccup climbed despondently back to the crow's nest and relayed the bad news to his friends. This just gets worse and worse. It's like some kind of sort of nightmare, moaned Fishlegs. We could have escaped on our own, but oh no, you have to choose to try and escape with 119 wanderers. Very subtle, and they aren't even Vikings. I made them a promise, replied Hiccup automatically. And look how they repaid you, Fishlegs pointed out. So you've saved 119 not very nice complete strangers, but you've doomed your two best friends in the process. Nice choice, Hiccup. Any escape plans, Kamikaze? Even Kamikaze, who had escaped from practically every tribe in the archipelago, seemed to have run out of hope that she could escape from this situation. I think the safest place to be right now is on this ship, she said, because out there is that sea dragon. Do you think it's the same one that chased you in the land of the polar serpents? Definitely, said Hiccup. I recognise the spines on its back. Those kind of spines are mostly seen on dragons that are now extinct. What kind of dragon is it anyway? Asked Fishlegs. I don't know, said Hiccup slowly. It was difficult to tell, but it was so dark. But it wasn't a species I recognised. It reminds me of some of the ones that I've heard about in the ancient sagas. A Leviathan or a Gorgonghast. Oh my goodness, they sound huge. Aren't those just mythical creatures, said Kamikaze, you know, made up like unicorns and mermaids and things? Maybe they're not made up, said Hiccup. Maybe they just haven't been seen in a very long time. Just because we don't know how the machine works doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Just because we've never seen America doesn't mean it's not there. We're in waters that we're not used to now, the waters of the Great West Ocean. There could be all sorts of terrible things like that there in the fathoms below us. Who knows? That's not a cheerful thought. To keep their spirits up, they thought about what everybody would be doing back at home. The hooligan tribe will be back on boat now, playing bashaball in the mud, preparing for the spring shearing, painting the boats for the summer sailings. I wonder who won the inter-tribe friendly swimming race, mused Fishlegs. My mother is the archipelago long-distance swimming champion. Bertha the Insinkable, said Kamikaze. She'd have stayed out there for days. But why wouldn't my father have won? Argued Hiccup loyally. That's sweet, they're arguing for their parents. He's just as good at swimming as Bertha. No way, insisted Kamikaze. So they argued back and forth. Not that it mattered, of course, but it passed the time, and it helped to be thinking of what might be happening at home. They did not realise, of course, that in fact neither of their parents had actually left the beach, let alone on the competition on that fateful morning several weeks ago. 14 will find out what happened back in the murderous mountains. We'll see you tomorrow. It's bye-bye from me, and it's bye-bye from a very happy-looking sleeping pigeon. See you tomorrow.